type of spell damage we're rocking. We are currently at 7,000. Right, so hello guys, this is Morgan. A lot of you know us in Cyrodiil as a bomber. This is just basically going to be a pretty easy guide on how to start setting up your bomber if you want to start running groups, if you want to start bombing in Zerg, stuff like that. This is my build, this is what I run in groups. You don't have to agree with it, you can run other stuff. This is just my personal opinion of how I run it, and I do it successfully. So, you've normally got a flat. When you're fully buffed on this build, you're going to be looking at around about 7k spell damage. I mean, it's 3,700 there. I'll get into the whole statistics in a minute about how we get up that high. But on average, you're looking about 1,500-ish recovery on Magicka, 33 on Mag, 23 on health, starting about 9k on stamina. Spell damage does get up to 7k. Got about 44k as well in spell crit. Crit resistance is pretty low. I'm going to talk about that in a minute as well, if you want to change that up. This guy isn't meant to live, for the most part. Like, I switch between solo bombing and, group bombing, so as a bomber you're not always going to survive. So if you die a lot when you do it, don't get too pissed off, because it happens to everybody. So, getting it in the gear. I've got a Vicious Steph Inferno Staff, Sharpened, Weapon Enchant. You've also got the 2 Vicious Steph Swords. Personally, I run both Nirnhoned, because it does give you a lot more spell damage, and then I run the Weapon Damage Enchant as well on that. You've then got your Jewellery. 100%, if you can get it, put Infused on your Jewellery. Standard on your Jewellery, if you're going to be running that 174 spell damage is what your base is, so you're nearly getting an extra 300 spell damage just by doing that, by making it infused, so it is really worth it if you can get it. Monster said, Belogs. I understand not everybody has this, but if you can get it, it is worth it. You got weapon damage, you got spell damage just for the first piece. For the second piece, when you use an ultimate ability, you gain weapon and spell damage for 10 seconds, equal to twice the amount of what's consumed. So let's say that a Destro, for example, is 250. Let's say you've saved up the whole 500 ultimate, you're now getting an additional 1,000 spell damage added on straight away whenever you use it. This build, you're going to be getting a minimum of 500 extra spell damage, because every time you get that Destro up, you're always going to have that. If you don't want to run it, that's totally fine. There is other options. You can run Grothgar if you don't want to try and farm the dungeon. It's totally up to you, but personally I would say best in slot at the minute is going to be Belogs. For some of you, Clever Alchemist is it's a bit of an old set. A lot of people forget about this one. It's craftable. It's very easy to obtain because of this. I am running basically all divines on my stuff. This is a full glass kind of build. If you want, you don't have to. I'm thinking about personally putting it on the impen, give it a bit more durability. But main benefit for this is it does give you a bit more tankiness, because you've got 2 max health bonuses. You've then got the weapon and spell buff, and then when you're in combat, when you're in Zerg, you're always in combat, so you basically don't have to worry about that. It increases your weapon and spell damage by 638 for 15 seconds. When you've got this proccing, you've got your Belogs proccing, you've then got your 10% buff that you get in the assault line, say if you've been taking a resource, something like that, and whilst you're in stealth, when you go to hit somebody, you can get up to 7k. It's really that easy. This is a very easy set to obtain. You don't have to run it. You have got other sets. You've got War Maiden, you've got Spinners if you want. Personally, I found if you're going to be running in a group, you want to be able to survive a bit longer. You don't want to have to go for the farm especially. This is the one you want to run. So now that I've discussed the gear, getting into the skills. My front bar, I'm running I'm running 2 swords. Concealed weapon. This is going to be your main source of damage if you have to get in a 1v1. The main benefit of this is going to be You want to have this on your front bar because at the bottom there you've got, while you're in stealth, your movement speed's increased by 25%. That's real. That is huge when you're a bomber. You want to be able to get in there quick and out, and you want to be able to get as much damage done as possible. It is really important to have that on there. And I mean, you've seen, I mean, that's 9k. I mean, stealth. It hits only minimum about 10k per. Half the time you can just two-shot people with this, depending on how they've got the stats going. Merciless Resolve. You always want to proc that up before you go into a fight. That's just going to give you a bit of a damage buff. Shadowy Disguise. You want to cloak yourself. You want to be able to start weaving this as you go in. Last thing you want to do is put a bomb on yourself or something like that, and then start running in, and then forget to put your shield, or you sprint and you bring yourself out of stealth, because groups will kill you. Sap Essence. This is good for two reasons. It's going to help heal you when you're doing it. Other than the fact that it's quite good for doing damage, but you also gain major brutality and major sorcery at the same time. Obviously, you don't want to use your bomb then use this. You want to have major sorcery going into the fight anyway, but it's good to have. Same again, Inner Light on my front bar. I run it. You've got the 5% max Magicka increase. You also gain Major Prophecy, which increases your spell crit rate, and which is why we're running about 45-ish% on the crit. Really important to have up there. I switch between two bombs, depending on if I'm going to be soloing or not. So personally, I do tend to have Soul Tether. You don't have to though. This is a flexi spot. If you prefer, you can have Soul Harvest. Because while you've got that slotted, if you kill an enemy player, you are also going to get an additional 10 ultimate. So it does help if you're trying to get that up there. But I just like to have the Soul Tether there just in case there's a lot of people around. You haven't quite got your Destro built up, but you've still got that there if you need it. On the back bar, this is going to be the one that you're mainly procking from. Obviously, you've got Proxy Detonation. You've then got Channel Acceleration. Channel Acceleration you'll get from the Siege of Gorda. I think you can unlock it, I think it's like one of the first things you unlock. So, nah, it's about third way down, so you're probably going to have to get yourself to, like, level 5, usually, to get that. Want to go with the Channel Acceleration Morph, because it then, I mean, it adds a cast time to it, don't get us wrong, but then you're going to gain that 10% crit bonus to your damage for 10 seconds, well, 10 seconds? No, for 36 seconds. I'm looking at the percent. And 10%, I mean, that's huge. It doesn't show it on the stat sheet, but when you put that on, you're going to be having more than a 50% chance, like 55% chance to crit when you're bombing. And when you've got all these squishies who are out there at the minute, it's worth having. If you're struggling for resources, you don't necessarily have to have this on. Another one that I sometimes run is Siphoning Attacks. That's going to help the healing. When it runs out, you're going to restore Magicka. And you're also going to restore the Magicka whilst you're damaging people. Impale. I've only just recently started running this. This is your flexi spot. If there's anything that you particularly want to change about, this is it. The only reason I like this is because it's an execute, and you can use it from 36 meters away. So, if you're in a group and people are starting to get low, you can weave this in between light attacks, and it does a lot of damage. Especially when they hit that 25% mark, you can basically one-shot somebody. If not, if you want to go more defensive, personally, I would put on Manifestation of Terror. Everybody who's in the War Devils right now will hear this and they'll laugh at us for it, because I always tell people to get off the door. It irritates us when people blow up. But if you put this on, normally you can, like, say if you're putting it down, you can slightly place it so that, say if the door's here, whoever's coming in, for the most part, will get feared. And in turn, you should save your group. Doesn't always happen, but it's nice to have on there. Again, that's your flexi spot. If you want to go with something totally different, totally up to you. Harness of Magicka. This is really important to have. We are very squishy on this build. A lot of people like to pop this as they're going in for the Destro. It's up to you, but it is important to have because we're a Nightblade. We don't have a lot of buffs anyway to give us a lot of resistances, so you should have this on your bar. And some people may be a bit confused about why retreating maneuvers on there. I mean, it's up to you if you want to run this or not. You do get a little bit of a buff when you use this to your how fast you go. Personally, before I go in to bomb somebody, I'll always use retreating maneuver. It just speeds things up. You get in there, get out, and it lasts for 30 seconds. So you're gonna have a lot more time to do something. So that's basically the build. That's what I would use. Me potions can vary. For the most part, I do run the Witchmother's has food, potions. I'm currently running spell power potions. That's mainly when I'm solo. Otherwise, I would run the immovable pots. I haven't got any on us now because I still need to craft some, but that's normally a better bet because when you're going in, the last thing you want to do is save up this ulti. You've got it all the way to the 500 mark and then get CC'd and then lose a good 3 or 4 seconds and then also probably die. So you want to try and have that on if you can get it. As you can imagine anyway, I am running stage 4 vampirism. It's just going to be nice to get in and out of stealth. Don't get us wrong, it sucks with the health and all that and how it regens slower. But it's kind of necessary being a bomber, I feel. It helps with your recovery. And as I say, you're not meant to survive half the time. Just being able to go into stealth a lot quicker is going to help you. The Apprentice, of course, I mean, it does help having this on. If you don't want to, you can go over something with a bit more penetration. It's up to you. Personally, I find that this is better, because half the time when you're going to be Zerg bombing, like, I know a lot of people are probably going to be in the comments like, oh, you should have a bit more, like, spell penetration and all that. Most of the time, if you're going to be running in a Zerg, and you're going to be running with more people that have got a bomb on them, it doesn't always matter. So you can have that spell 7k spell damage and all that. It doesn't always matter because if you've got 2 other people behind you that are running basically the same or similar setups to what I'm running, they're mainly going to go down. Like, unless they're all tanks or they're like a really well organized group, it's normally a lot easier if you just do like run this sort of build. You will see a benefit from it. One last thing to leave you on. A lot of these keeps, when you go inside of them, they'll have walls like this that you've got. And say that you've got a door or something like that. You want to be careful because when you're proccing your bomb, you do put an area of AoE around you. You want to be out of sight. You don't want to be somewhere where people can see. Because sometimes, say if I'm next to this tree and I'm proccing up, enemies on the other side can still see that red AoE that comes around the tree. You want something maybe like this, because they're not going to see it through that if you were to proc up. Anyway, normally when I'm about to go in for a bomb, you always want to start off going with Berserk. What's it? Merciless Resolve. Then want to use your Psijic ability. Make sure you use Rapid Maneuver. Proc up. And then you start going in. And then pop your potion on the way in. Remember, you want to be hitting this every 2 or 3 seconds to go into stealth. And for the most part, that is the build. This is just basically an easy guide. If there's something I've missed in particular that you want to talk about, feel free to put it in the comments below. But this is mainly what I run if I'm running in a group. So, that's me signing off. Take care.